What if Samoa Joe held on for 3 more seconds and Brock Lesnar never delivered the F5 that ended their championship fight? The documented road is short and violent. Lesnar won the Universal Championship from Goldberg at WrestleMania 33. Joe earned the first defense by choking Finn Bálor unconscious in the Extreme Rules 5-way. He then attacked Paul Heyman, fought Lesnar on Raw, and trapped the champion in a Coquina Clutch on June 26th. Our exact real-world cutoff is July 9, 2017. At Great Balls of Fire in Dallas, we preserve the match through Joe applying his final Coquina Clutch. We stop before Lesnar lifts him for the match-ending F5. From this frozen instant onward, every escape, result, reign, rivalry, and consequence is hypothetical. In the rewrite, Lesnar starts to stand, but Joe hooks a leg around his base and drags him backward. Lesnar cannot complete the lift. Joe tightens the hold, the champion's arm fails the referee's check, and the match is stopped. Samoa Joe is the hypothetical Universal Champion by technical submission. Joe does not celebrate like an underdog. He takes the belt, studies the defeated champion, and leaves as though the result were inevitable. That presentation matters. This is not a lucky upset. The new champion's central claim is that every opponent eventually gives him a neck, and one opening is enough. On the first hypothetical Raw, Joe's imagined address is summarized rather than quoted. He rejects a ceremonial celebration and asks management to find challengers. The reason is strategic as much as proud. Frequent defenses let Joe define the championship before Lesnar's shadow can define him. Seth Rollins accepts the first test. Joe survives Rollins' speed, blocks a late aerial attack, and wins with the Coquina Clutch. Before he can leave, Lesnar, Roman Reigns, and Braun Strowman converge around the ring. One clean defense has proven Joe belongs. The collision reveals how many men want his position. Management grants Lesnar one rematch in this fictional timeline. Strowman and Reigns refuse to wait, and their scheduled eliminator disintegrates into a no contest. Joe asks for all three at SummerSlam, not from generosity, but because defeating the entire dispute at once would prevent any survivor from claiming he was protected. The hypothetical four-way is designed around incompatible threats. Lesnar can overwhelm Joe directly. Strowman can erase everyone's plans. Reigns can strike suddenly after others are exhausted. Joe therefore refuses prolonged exchanges, attacks whichever man is isolated, and repeatedly steers the two largest rivals toward each other. Strowman drives Lesnar through the barricade. Reigns attacks Strowman, then turns into Joe's choke. Reigns fights toward the ropes, but four-way rules offer no rope break. He fades, and Joe retains. Joe has not pinned Lesnar, yet he has defeated the structure Lesnar was meant to dominate. The rewrite now moves Lesnar away from the championship. His granted rematch has been used, and a third immediate match would make Joe's victory feel temporary. Lesnar departs furious, but unpinned, preserving a future attraction. Strowman remains because he caused the decisive opening and was never beaten. Strowman earns the next match rather than receiving it for spectacle. In this hypothetical Raw eliminator, he decisively defeats Reigns, and then points at Joe's championship. Joe watches without retreating. The champion conquered Lesnar's explosive force. Now he must solve an opponent too large to control with the same approach. Joe's preparation becomes the story across weekly television. He studies Strowman's base, left arm, and breathing, rather than promising to overpower him. Training footage shows Joe attacking a heavy bag, practicing low takedowns, and tightening the choke from imperfect angles. The champion is dangerous because he adjusts before the bell. At no mercy, Strowman repeatedly tears Joe's hands apart before the choke can lock. Joe responds by attacking the challenger's arm and forcing him to carry weight during every escape. The match leaves the ring, where Joe avoids a charging tackle and drives Strowman through the commentary table with a Uranagi. Joe reaches the ring at 9. Strowman rises 1 second too late. The countout is legal, and Joe engineered it. But the ending changes the audience's question. They no longer wonder whether Strowman can survive Joe. They wonder whether Joe can actually stop Strowman inside the ring. Joe does not pretend the countout settled anything. His summarized fictional promo accepts a steel cage rematch at TLC. The stipulation has a reason. It removes the commentary table, blocks another countout, and forces one man to beat or escape the other. Joe's credibility is now the stake, alongside the title. Inside the cage, Strowman cannot be redirected into open space. He hurls Joe into the mesh and nearly walks through the door. Joe attacks the damaged arm from no mercy, traps it between their bodies, and climbs onto Strowman's back. Every prior defense has taught him how to find the choke under pressure. Strowman stands with Joe attached, but the injured arm cannot peel him away. He drops to one knee, then both. The referee stops the match when he becomes unresponsive. Joe wins decisively without making the monster surrender, paying off both matches while preserving Strowman's pride for a future fight with Lesnar. At this hypothetical Survivor Series, Joe meets SmackDown champion AJ Styles in a non-title champion versus champion match. Styles cannot match Joe's mass, so he attacks angles, escapes before grips are complete, and forces Joe to turn repeatedly. The match is designed to test adaptability rather than heavyweight endurance. Joe finally catches Styles and commits both arms to the choke. Styles kicks off the turnbuckle, rolls backward, and traps Joe's shoulders for 3. Joe's first defeat as champion is not a collapse. It is a flash of superior geometry. The aura of inevitability has acquired a visible seam. The next Raw does not turn Joe cowardly or dishonest. His imagined response is summarized as an acknowledgement that Styles found an answer for one night. Joe invites Raw to learn from it. That choice keeps him formidable, while changing the reign's tension. Challengers now believe escape is possible. Finn Bálor steps forward because his claim predates Joe's reign. In documented history, Joe choked Bálor unconscious to win the Extreme Rules 5-way and earn Lesnar. In this rewrite, Bálor argues through a summarized promo that defeating Joe means correcting the moment from which the entire championship story grew. Bálor receives no shortcut. A Raw tournament makes him defeat Bray Wyatt's disruption, Roman Reigns' power, and Seth Rollins' pace across 3 weeks. Each opponent prepares him for one part of Joe. The tournament also keeps the champion active as an observer, without giving away the title match early. At the hypothetical Royal Rumble, Bálor refuses a brawl. He attacks Joe's ribs, forces lateral movement, and makes the champion chase. Joe eventually catches a top rope attack and locks the Coquina Clutch. But Bálor uses Styles' turnbuckle roll to escape. For the first time, Joe's defining hold is fully broken. Bálor's escape forces Joe to improvise. He blocks a second aerial attack, drives Bálor to the mat, and traps one arm before applying the choke again. This time, the referee stops it. Joe retains, but the consequence is crucial. Bálor proved the standard version can be escaped and forced the champion to reveal a counter. Bálor must earn the rematch. Inside the hypothetical elimination chamber, he conserves energy while larger contenders eliminate one another, then survives Reigns' late power and lands a top rope double stomp for the final pin. WrestleMania is set because Bálor adapted after defeat instead of merely requesting another chance. The WrestleMania build avoids personal melodrama. Joe trains to block the turnbuckle escape and isolate Bálor's arm sooner. Bálor trains to protect both arms and attack the ribs before Joe can settle his weight. Their summarized promos focus on evidence. Joe has beaten him twice. Bálor has learned twice. At WrestleMania, Joe dominates whenever the match slows. Bálor answers by striking the ribs and refusing to remain directly in front of him. Joe catches the first double stomp attempt and reaches for the modified arm trap choke, the exact variation that ended their Royal Rumble match. Bálor keeps his arm folded against his chest, kicks off the middle turnbuckle, and rolls through before Joe can secure it. Joe charges, but Bálor redirects him into the corner, attacks the ribs again, and lands 2 consecutive top rope double stomps. The second earns 3. In this hypothetical timeline, Finn Bálor ends Samoa Joe's reign. Joe refuses assistance, stands, and gives the new champion a restrained nod before leaving. The consequences last beyond one result. Bálor's championship closes the loop from Extreme Rules. Joe exits as an established main event force rather than a temporary challenger. Lesnar and Strowman can resume their conflict without the title, while Reigns must find a different road. Most importantly, this what-if reign makes the Universal Championship a prize defended through adaptation, not an ending reserved for one predetermined coronation.